Hi, I'm Kelly from Kelly Jones Jewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this cute pendant. I've put a list of everything you'll need in the description below. So let's get to it. To make this pendant you'll need 0.8mm wire, which is 20 gauge, and I've cut 4 lengths at 12 inches, which is 30 centimetres. You'll need 0.315mm weaving wire, which is 28 gauge. I've wound 250 centimetres. I don't know if you'll need that much. So I've got 20 gauge half round wire as well. I've cut one length at 6 inches, which is 15 centimetres. And I've got a little teardrop stone here. So this is 30 by 20 millimetres. You can use any shaped stone you like for this one. I'm just doing something a bit more basic this week for a change. So tools, I've got my pliers, round nose pliers, cutters, and I like to have nylon pliers handy just for straightening wires or flattening weaves. They're just nice to have handy, so if you don't have these, don't worry, all my tools are Tronex. So they're a little bit more expensive to buy, but they do last, so it is worth it in the long run. I think that's it. My pliers are needle nose pliers, and all my wire is soft, dead soft wire. And I'm using square today. I haven't used square for a while, so I thought I'd have a change. So take your 4 square wires, which we'll call base wires, find the centre point, and then using your half round wire, we'll just wrap around those wires. So with the flat side facing, trying to keep all your wires nice and flat there, we'll wrap around the whole thing. We'll wrap around 3 times. Oop. And then take the top wire and make sure you're central and your wires haven't moved. We'll take the top wire and we'll just scoop it around. We're just going to put a little loop in the top there. And then we want it to sit flat with the other wires, and I don't want it to twist, so I'm just flattening it with my pliers. And then take your wire over the other side of the loop and wrap 3 times. So we've joined the wires and we've got a little loop in the middle. We're going to cut the wires, and I want them to both cut. Let's have it. Cut the wires with them finishing at the back. And then press those wires flat at the back. So now we're going to scoop this to shape to the bottom of the stone, but I want my loop to be going down while I want this to cup the stone. So grab your loop and bend it so that as these wires cup the stone, the loop is facing down. So your stone will go there at the bottom. So we want the wires to come around the stone. Bending it with my fingers to start with, just to keep it nice and central, because it's hard to hold it central against the stone there without it moving around. So then try and bring the wires around, keeping that nice and central at the bottom there. So where your wires cross at the top there, I'm going to bend the wires up. Making use of these nylon pliers today. So now you have this shape. Try not to let the wires cross over each other. And we're going to add a little bit of a weave here on this top right side. So take your weaving wire and we'll start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. Slide that down. And we'll go around the bottom 2 wires, around the bottom 3 wires, so go over the 3rd, come up between the bottom 2, then we'll wrap around the top 3 wires and we'll do that twice. So come up between the bottom 2 again and go over the top, wrap around the bottom 3. You can do any weave you want along this little bit. We're just attaching the wires together and I just like to make it pretty. So then I'm going over the second, so I'm going around 2 and then around the bottom wire a couple of times. And I'll do that again. So we'll go around 2, around 3, come up between the bottom 2, go over the top, just go around the top 3, come up between the bottom 2, over the top, so I've gone around the top 3 again, under the bottom, over the 3rd wire, so I've gone around the bottom 3, go around the bottom 2, and then 3 times around the bottom wire. And that is Gracie making all the noise. If you can hear some snoring in the background. So I can fit another one in there. I'm going to do another repeat to make it 3. Done another repeat. I just want to do something. This week I wanted to just do something really quite simple. That's the idea. I don't know how complicated it's going to end up. I hope I do keep it nice and simple. But I do love to see a little bit of weaving on there. So I thought I'd just do a little bit of weaving on the sides there. Finish it off nicely. So cut your ends, press all your cut ends down, and we'll do the same thing on the other side, but to match it up we're going to do it upside down. So the same weave, we're just going to do it upside down. So if you pinch your wires here, you can just pull them out a bit, which makes it a bit easier to weave. So we need to start in about the same place with, this time we'll have 3 wraps around the top wire. Because I'm working with square, I don't want that wire there to be twisted, so I'm going to twist him back. So we'll start with 3 wraps around the top wire and then slide that down. And I've noticed with square wire it's hard to slide the weaves along, so you've really got to put them where you want them to be because they're not moving once they're there. So I want about there. My top wire's ended up proper wobbly now. So we're going to do a wrap around the top wires, so come up between the middle 2, over the top, come up between the bottom two, over the top. Come under the bottom wire and then go over between the top two. We do that twice. Come up between the bottom two, over the top, up between the middle two, over the top. And that's our weave upside down. So we need to do that a couple of times. So I've done 3 repeats of that weave. We're going to keep this wire long this time because we're going to carry on weaving up the top. I do keep knocking it today. I'm going to cut the wire from the beginning. We're going to flatten that down with pliers. So re-push your wires around the stone if they've moved, so they're all back in shape around the stone. And now we'll attach the wires at the top. So take the stone out for a minute. So holding all the wires together at the top, we're going to wrap around all of them together. And we'll go around and around. Try not to pull the wires over each other. So I'm going around about 8 times. And then take one of the back wires and we'll attach to one of those wires there. Just going to try and sort out my wires so they haven't crossed over each other. So I've got those 4 and I've got those 4. So we wrap a few times around that back wire. And then I'm going to take the back 2 wires and I'm going to pull them out to the sides, both sides. I take the front 4 I'm going to do a little bail across those wires there. So I've spread them out, I've parted the front wires. I've got the other 2 there, and then the 2 back ones out on each side. But before we go any further, we'll just attach the stone into the bottom there. So pop your stone in, and we'll make sure that's secured in place first. So if you are working with square, they can be a bit hard to handle, they can get a bit tough, so we'll just part those side wires a little before you pop your stone in, before we fit it in, just to make life a bit easier. So pop your stone in, turn it over. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring these back wires over the stone a little. So make sure you've got a gap so you can get your pliers down there, and then holding the stone in, also holding the top of the wire here. We're going to grip this wire at the bottom here. We're going to twist it over the stone, and then I'm going to push it flat against the stone, and I'm going to do it with this side too. Grip the wire, twist it over, flatten it against the stone. Really twisted my wire up there, so I've tried to straighten it and I'm giving it a bit of a file with my nail buffer just to lose all those little bits and to get the shine back. Oh dear, I've had better days with my square wire. But yes, if you do make tool marks in, not to worry, you can get your nail file on there and just buff them out. And I'll try not to be so heavy-handed with my front wires. I'm going to pull them forward a little grip the wire at the bottom there, and we're just going to twist it in. Just a little twist this time. And on this side, twist. My wire really doesn't like me today. And I'm going to part these two wires here. So I'm going to take the next wire and I'm just going to bend that wire a little bit too. And on this side, try and match up that. So I'm keeping the gaps level on the sides, but I want that wire to come up at the bottom. And that has moved in all the commotion. Beautiful stone. Back to those top wires, we've got the two back wires going out, and we've got these 4 wires coming up. I'm going to do like a little slim bail. So my middle wires are going out. So we bring the weaving wire up. Over the side wires, and I'm going to wrap around this front wire here a couple of times. And because I'm so low down, I'm going to go straight over the other front wire over there a couple of times. So now I'm coming over I'm going to number the wires so it's a bit easier to say. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 and 4 are my front wires, and 2 and 3 are my back wires. So I'm going around the bottom wire, then I'm going around the bottom 2 wires twice, then I'm going around the bottom wire. Then I'm going straight over to my 4th wire, the top one, and I'm going around that wire and I'm going to push it down. So I'll go around that wire again. Then I go around the 2 wires. Around the top wire. And then I come straight over to my 1st wire, and that's how I repeat. So when you come over, you must make sure that you push your wire down so it meets the previous wraps. So we'll go around that wire again. Then I go around the 2 wires twice. Then I go around the bottom wire. And I go straight over to the 4th wire, and we'll repeat that a few more times. I think the only thing I'm going to change is I'm going to take those 2 middle wires out just a little bit so they're closer to those edge wires. So keep pushing your weave down as you go. I've done about a centimetre, is it? About 1.5 if you count from the wraps there at the bottom. So holding that weave there, we're going to bring the wires in. Just a little bail. And then holding the wires at the top, we're going to take them back out. So you've got that shape in your wires. I've spread them out so it's just easier to weave. So now as you weave up this last part, because you're going up this slope, the wires are going to keep sliding. So what you got to do is, as you're working this side, you got to hold this side down. I think it's a bit easier with square because it doesn't tend to slide so much. So do a couple of wraps and really push it down. And then I'm going to hold it, I'm still holding this side, sorry. So I'm going to do our repeat on this side. So we go a couple of wraps around the both wires. And then a wrap around the bottom wire. I go around it again. You make sure this is pushed right down. Hold this side and go over the other side. So we go over the top and we go around that side. A couple of times around the two. And then around that top wire again and really pull it down. So do that as you work the top. Keep holding the other side down to keep it all down in place. If you do get little gaps, don't worry, because this will be the back of the bale and it won't be as noticeable, but we'll try and keep it nice and tidy. So there we have it. I've got right to the top. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to finish that weave with a few wraps around that second wire to hold all that in place. Push that forward a little bit at the base. We're going to bend this over to the back, and you want to bend it nice and central. And as evenly as you can. Bent up those side wires there, haven't I? So it comes in nicely. Now we have our bale. Turn to the back, and I'm going to bring these two back wires down because I want to secure the top of the stone in at the back. Because we've got the weave, the stone isn't held in very well at the top there. So I'm going to leave the outer wires and I'm just going to weave across these middle two. Hold on, which way am I going around? Wires going around the other way. So I've just gone around the top one to get my wire coming around the right way. So I'm just going to go wrap around the bottom wire, wrap twice around both wires, wrap around the bottom wire twice, just to weave a little bit, just holding those wires together. Gracie's snoring for all her might. So I've done about 6 repeats of that weave, and I'm just going to scoop these wires out to meet those two wires at the back so that it holds the stone nicely in place, and make sure it's all nice and central and straight. And then I'm going to cut these wires and wrap around these back wires. So I'll cut my weaving wire first, press that down. So I'm going to cut this wire. Let me just make sure it's all straight. So I'm going to cut this wire. I'm going to make a little gap behind my back wire, and then I'm going to take that wire around the back wire. I do it loose to start with so that I can attach the other wire and make sure that it's still central. So I'll do the same thing on this side. I'll make a little gap, cut that wire and curl it around. And then I'm going to tighten them up, having a look, trying to keep them nice and central. And then I'll squeeze them around. Now we're looking at the front 4 wires. We're going to take this lower one, we're going to push it right down at the base, and we're going to scoop it around the other way. We're going to bring it over the front and scoop it around to that side. So we've got a proper big swirly curl there. The next wire we're going to push down again at the base. Just realised how quiet I'm talking, I am sorry about that. And we're going to twist it over. You know, I haven't done any twisty wires on this, have I? Let's twist this one. So I'm going to grip it with nylon pliers and I'm going to twist the pendant around and around. So we get some nice twists in that wire, and you really can only do this with square. So if you have square wire, give it a twist. You don't normally have to do it for much longer than this. I'm nearly there. That'll do it. Nice twisty wire. Bent up all my other wires in the process. Push it down at the base. Curve it over. Bring it over the front there. And around to follow this wire. So take your time getting the wire how you want it to be. So I'm going to twist this top wire as well. So I've twisted that one. So we're going to take this other one, this bare one. I'm going to bring that around across to this side. I'm going to go underneath the other wires. And I'm going to curve it over and around these 2 wires here. And then holding that twist, I'm going to scoop it in. Take this last twisty wire. I'm going to scoop that one around. It's a bit awkward to scoop once you've twisted it. I'm going to come under all those wires to the other side. And then I'm going to take that wire across the back. So these two wires from earlier, they're going to scoop around too. And where these three wires meet here, I'm going to attach them together with a bit of weaving wire. So we'll attach to the outer wire here. Slide it up. To where those wires meet. So I'm going to go around the two wires, and then I'm going to go around the three wires twice. Coming up between the bottom two, so I'm going around the top two wires, and then I'll come up between the top two, and I'll wrap a few times around that top wire. So this was going to be really simple, and it's ended up being a little bit more than what I thought it was going to be. Never mind, I still love it. Pull the wires nice and tight, snip off both the ends, and then press down all those little cut ends. So I'm going to cut off this front base wire because I just want a nice curl there. And these two are going to come down and through the bottom there. So pulling them forward a little bit, I'm going to bend the ends through that hoop at the bottom. And hopefully I haven't misshaped them too much. Wrestling with these wires today. I do usually use 21 gauge, and I don't know why I've picked up the 20 gauge. I don't know where my 21 gauge has gone, so I'm going to have to go and find it. I was having a tidy, so I've obviously tidied stuff away and can't find it. So I want it to come down the side like that. Where's that one? That's from the back. I'm going to take the twisted wire can't grab it. And I'm going to bring it straight forward, and then I'm going to scoop it around and over like that. And the other one is coming straight over the front there. I am fighting with my square today. And this is going to scoop around too. I hope you can see what I'm doing. So we've got a nice little shape at the bottom there. Yeah, I like that. So these are going to come up, finish off here at the bottom. My wires are very short, so I'm going to suggest you start with slightly longer wires, and those wires need to tie into there somehow. So take a little bit of weaving wire. This is all made up on the spot. I thought I'd just have a play with some square wire, and I wish I'd grabbed my thinner. I do suggest you use 21 gauge. It is much easier to handle. So I'm going to wrap a few times around this little wire at the front here. Push it down to where all the wires meet there. And I'm going to go through, where shall I go? I'll go through and around the two. So I've gone around two wires. Now I need to tie them down. I'll tie them down to these side two wires. So I'm going around everything a couple of times. We've gone around the whole thing a couple of times. Then we go around the two wires. Then around the one. Ooh. There we go. I would love to see your finished work. If you decide to go this far, you can tail off and do anything you want at any point. You can take the wires wherever they choose to go, and do tag me so I can see how you got on. This is ending up being a lovely little design. I'd love to see your versions of it. Please share them with me. I do get very excited when I see that I'm tagged in something. So now you know. I'm going to take that wire a little bit shorter, I think. And that one. And that one. And I'm going to do some curls at the front here. So this one I want quite a tight curl, and then I'm going to pull it around a bit more. And then this one is going to go this way. Again, quite a little tight curl. And this one. So now we've just got some crazy back wires to finish off. Because this wire is a twisty wire, and I do love them, I think they're quite pretty, I'm going to bring it back over to the front, and I'm going to scoop it over on this side at the front, bringing it as tight as I can. And then I'm going to send it back over to the back. And then we've got these two back crazy wires. Ended up a little all over the place. So this one I can finish off around this wire here. This wire I'm going to bend directly over into a little curl there at the back. Do the same with this one. Crazy little curl at the back there. And then I just need to finish this one. I think I'm gonna do that. So I've attached that down with a little weaving wire, twice around this square wire, twice around 2 wires, twice around the single wire, cut it off at both ends, press down those little bits, then I'm going to cut that wire, I'm going to curl it up quite tiny. Well, you've got a right Gracie chorus going on today. There we go, a little tiny girl. I think that came out quite interesting actually. So I'll run and oxidise it and I'll show you what the finished one looks like. So there we have it, finished. I've oxidised mine. If you'd like help oxidising yours, I did a video on oxidising and aftercare. I've done a few actually. I'll put links in the description below. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now. Bye.